Shalom, 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 shalom. First, I want to give all the praises and the glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Kadash. As always, double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who are leading this word in truth and spirit and sincerity. Salutations to my fellow Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters that have been edified by this truth of who we are, the true children of Israel, the Israelites, and who the other nations are, according to Bible prophecy. As always, as we say, we are the Lord's prophets. We are here to foretell, to prophesy the downfall of Babylon the Great, the downfall of Esau Edom, and the resurrection of the kingdom of heaven, which is coming to earth, as always. So today's edification is Second Esdras, chapter 11 and 12. The breakdown of the 12 feathered wings and the 3 heads. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through Second Esdras, chapter 11. We're going to give you the full breakdown of chapter 11, and then we're going to skim through parts of that breakdown again in chapter 12, because chapter 11 talks about, chapter 12, Second Esdras chapter 12 talks about Second Esdras chapter 11. But what we're going to do, we're going to go through chapter 11 from verse 1 to verse 46, and then we're going to go through what the angel said to Esdras in chapter 12 from around verse 10 to roughly verse 37, roughly around there, basically. So, without further ado, hold on to your seats, get your popcorns out, get your pen, your papers out, get your books out, your Bibles out, get your Apocrypha out, and let's do this thing. So, Second Esdras chapter 11, verse 1. It says, Then saw I a dream, and behold, there came up from the sea an eagle, which had 12 feathered wings and 3 heads. And that eagle represents the Roman Empire. Okay, Daniel 7:7, that's the 4th beast in the book of Daniel, which had 12 feathered wings and 3 heads. The 12 feathered wings represent the 12 Roman emperors, the 12 Caesars, the first 12 Caesars of Rome. The 3 heads represents the first triumvirate, which would have been Julius Caesar, Marcus Crassus, and what's his name? Pompeius. That would have been the first triumvirate. So, the 3 heads are these guys here: Gaius Julius Caesar, Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, Marcus Licinius Crassus. These are the 3 heads that Esdras prophesied. Now remember, Ezra had this dream. Ezra had to go into a deep sleep, and the angel came to him and gave him these visions, right? I believe it was the angel Gabriel. You can correct me if I'm wrong. It's either Gabriel or Uriel, one of the two. But correct me if I'm wrong. But the angel came to him and put him into a deep sleep, and also into fasting. Ezra's had to fast as well. He had to fast as well, and the angel came to him and gave him these visions of these end times, of our end times, of what's going to happen during the times of the Romans, so forth and so on. Okay, just so you understand. So Esdras lived around. When did Esdras live? Around 440 BC. So I put it up here just so you can see. This is the time that Ezra lived around. This is the time that the book of Ezra was written, between 480 and 440 BC, before Christ, right? Or before the Christian era. That's what BCE means, before the Christian era, right? Before our Lord Yahushua. Now, Esdras in the Bible is the same as Esdras that's in the Apocrypha, just so you understand. It's just the word in the Greco-Latin, Esdras is called Esdras, right? It's just the Greco-Latin word of saying Ezra. It's the same Ezra that's in the Bible. So the Esdras, just so we understand who we're talking about here as well. The Ezra, the Esdras that's in the Old Testament during the times of Cyrus, the king of Persia, is the same Esdras that wrote the book of Esdras in the Apocrypha, which is in the Bible, just so that we're clear. So the three heads represents the three Roman leaders here: Caesar, Crassus, Pompey. These are the three heads. They're referred to as the first triumvirate, right? Triumvirate, that's what they refer to as. The 12 feathered wings are the first 12 emperors, Caesars of the Roman Empire. And these were all Edomite Caesars, okay? These 12. Now, they wrote a book, just so you know. Now, this book here, I've even got a copy of it. Let me just quickly show you on the screen. I even have a copy of this book here, all right? It's called The 12 Caesars, right? By Vitellius, The 12 Caesars. This book was written in 121 AD, roughly 550 years after Esdras wrote the prophecy about the 12 Caesars. So Vitellius was a famous writer during the Roman Empire time. He wrote this book around 120 AD, roughly 550 years after Esdras wrote the prophecy. So Vitellius didn't know about the book of Esdras, didn't refer to it or anything, didn't know that what Esdras was writing about was something that he was going to write about in the future, because Vitellius wrote about those Roman emperors after they had died and passed away, because by this time, those first 12 Roman emperors had died, just so you understand. So even these Edomites wrote about the 12 feathered wings, not knowing that the 12 feathered wings were prophesied in the second book of Esdras, chapter 11, just so you understand, all right? So let's go back. So, the 12 feathered wings. So who were those 12 emperors? Okay. Those 12 emperors were, the 12 feathered wings. The first was Julius Caesar, Caius Julius Caesar. The second was Octavia Caesar Augustus, all right? He was the emperor from about 31 BC to 14 AD, right? The first was Tiberius Nero Caesar. Tiberius, he ruled from about 14 AD to 37 AD. The next one was Caius Caesar Caligula. He ruled from 37 AD to 41 AD. The next was Tiberius Claudius Gnaeus Caesar. You had, that was Caligula, yeah. Then you got Nero, Claudius, Caesar. I'm just going to go through who their names were. Then you got Galba, Otho, Vitellius, Vespasian. They were known as they referred to them as the year of the four emperors, because they all ruled in the same year. And it was left with one, which was Vespasian. Then you had Vespasian's two sons, Titus and Domitian. So Vespasian and his two sons was known as the Flavian dynasty, basically, as such. But those were the 12 emperors, all right? Those were the 12. These are the 12 feathered wings. So he writes about them here. This is the book, the 12 Caesars, that they actually wrote about those 12 Caesars. Caesar, Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, I should have just came here, Claudius, Nero, Galba, Otho, Vitellius, Vespasian and his two sons, Titus and Domitian. These are the 12 feathered wings that Esdras prophesied. Esdras prophesied about these guys 400 years before they existed, before they was even born. Right? Roughly 400 years before they was born. Augustus Caesar was probably born around 90 something BC. So, as I said, Esdras wrote these prophecies down between 480 and 440 BC. So it says, and I saw, and behold, she spread her wings over all the earth, and all the winds of the air blew on her and were gathered together. So that's the Roman Empire spreading its wings, its power across the known world, not all of the earth, but the known world at the time. That's why it says, and all the winds of the air blew on her. So all of these nations and armies, some were subservient to Rome, paid them tributary. The others, Rome took over, military-wise took over, invaded and took over. So this is what this is referring to here. When she says she spread her wings, that's the Roman Empire spreading its wings over the known earth, and all the winds of the air, which are all the nations, blew on her and were gathered together. Because remember, Rome was also known as the melting pot. This is why, once again, we know America is the reincarnation of the Roman Empire, because America is known as a melting pot. Rome was the same. Back then, Rome was the melting pot. All nations lived in Rome. All the nations that Rome conquered or paid tributary to Rome lived in Rome. In their own communities amongst the Romans, they lived amongst the Romans. Rome back then was known as the melting pot, just like how America is today. It says, and I beheld, and out of her feathers there grew other contrary feathers, and they became little feathers and small. So the other contrary feathers are referring to the lesser emperors, the lesser Caesars of those 12 Caesars. So it would be kind of referring to, just since we've got this up, it would be kind of be referring to the ones that didn't spend much time in power and were less significant, like Caligula, Nero, Galba, Otho, Vitellius. Titus didn't spend much time in power. The longest serving emperor was Augustus. He spent roughly 45 years as emperor. The second longest serving one was Tiberius. He spent roughly around 22 years as emperor. All right. So when we go back to 2nd Esdras, and it says, where was we in verse 3, wasn't we? And it says, and I beheld, and out of her feathers there grew other contrary feathers, and they became little feathers and small. Those are just the other emperors out of the 12 feathered wings that were considered, that didn't have a great impact on how Rome was run or changed or became a power at the time, basically. But they're part of the 12. But her heads were at rest. The head in the midst was greater than the others, yet rested it with the residue. So the heads in the midst is talking about Julius Caesar, because Julius Caesar was the greatest of the three that are part of the first triumvirate. He was the heads in the midst because he became the first recognized Roman emperor, Caesar. That's why they all called themselves Caesar after. Every emperor after him was called Caesar. It comes from his name, Julius Caesar, just so we understand. So it says, but her heads were at rest, the heads in the midst is Julius Caesar, was greater than the others, yet rested it with the residue. He was greater than Marcus Crassus, he was greater than Pompeius, right? Because I believe it was Caesar. I think it was Caesar. Marcus Crassus died in battle. Pompeius was assassinated. Caesar was eventually assassinated. Julius Caesar was eventually assassinated, but he killed Pompeius. I think the person that he sent to do it his name was Lucius Septimius. That was one of Caesar's generals, one of his main men. He killed Pompeius. He was assassinated. But eventually, as we all know, Julius Caesar was assassinated on the steps of Rome, the steps of the Senate. So let's go to verse 5. It says, "Moreover, I beheld, and lo, the eagle flew with her feathers, and reigned upon the earth, and over them that dwelt therein." The eagle is talking about the Roman Empire. Flew with her feathers, talking about the Roman emperors and Caesars that came from that empire. These are talking about the 12 feathered wings in their own time, because remember, they ruled at different times. And they reigned upon the earth. When it says it reigned upon the earth, the known world at the time to the Romans, because what they ruled was basically over here in this part of the Western Empire, and over them that dwelt therein. So that also goes to, we could go to Daniel 7 and 7, because it talks about the fourth beast, which is the Roman Empire, which is this eagle. Daniel 7 and 7. It says, "After this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast." The fourth beast is that Roman Empire. These are the four beasts of the visions that Daniel had. "Dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly." That's how it was able to rule over the known world. It was dreadful and terrible, and it was strong exceedingly. The Roman legions were well-drilled military soldiers. And it had great iron teeth. Its armory, it had its battle armory was second to none. The Romans would go to battle and they would build what they need on the battlefield and then use it to destroy their adversaries. "It devoured and brake in pieces," there you go, "and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns." As you know, that goes back to the reincarnation of the Roman Empire, which is the European Union. Okay? So let's go back here. Jump up. Verse 6, it says, "And I saw that all things under heaven were subject unto her." So all of these nations were subject unto Rome, to the Roman Empire. "And no man spake against her, no, not one creature upon earth." So what did we just read in Daniel chapter 7 about the fourth beast? "And behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong, exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. It was diverse from all of the beasts that were before it." So there were certain Germanic tribes that did fight against the Romans and, defeated some of their legions. But as a whole, everyone the Romans came up against, they defeated. That's what made Julius Caesar famous. He was a hardened general that led his legions to defeat many. I don't think Julius Caesar lost a war. I don't believe Julius Caesar lost a battle. Just so you understand. Don't believe he lost a battle at all, Julius Caesar. So, it says here, "And I beheld, and lo, the eagle rose up upon her talons, and spake to her feathers, saying," the feathers are the Roman emperors, "Watch not all at once, sleep every one in his own place, and watch by course. But let the heads be preserved for the last. And I beheld, and lo, the voice went not out of her heads, but from the midst of her body." So, like I said, this is referring to the Caesars. Julius Caesar was considered the first Roman emperor. He is the one that was in the midst of the other two heads that survived the first triumvirate. He survived it. Marcus Crassus died in battle. Pompeius was assassinated by one of Caesar's men. His name was Lucius Septimius. Caesar was the one that survived the first triumvirate. He was the first emperor. He says, and I numbered her contrary feathers, and I looked, and behold, on the right side there arose one feather and reigned over all the earth. And I looked, and behold, on the right side there arose one feather, and he reigned over all the earth. That one feather was the first Roman emperor. That's Julius Caesar. So that one feather is talking about this man here, Julius Caesar. That's the one feather. And he reigned over all the earth. All right? And I looked, and behold, on the right side there arose one feather, and he reigned over all the earth. And so it was that when it rained, the end of it came. As you know, he was assassinated on the steps of Rome, on the steps of the Senate. And the place thereof appeared no more. So the next following stood up and reigned and had a great time. So who was the next emperor to reign after Julius Caesar? He says he had a great time. That's talking about Augustus. Octavia Augustus. And we're going to explain to you why he had a great time. I'll read a few verses down. And it happened that when he reigned, the end of it came also, like as the first, so that it appeared no more. So the end of his reign came just like how Julius Caesar's reign came to an end, except Julius Caesar was assassinated, where Octavia Augustus wasn't. All right. Then came there a voice unto it and said, hear thou that hast borne rule over the earth so long. This I say unto thee, before thou beginnest to appear no more. There shall none after thee attain unto thy time, neither unto half thereof. So when the angel says to Esdras here, and he reigned and he had a great time, that's because Octavia Augustus, I believed, he reigned for 45 years from around 31 BC. So they say here from 27 BC. I know some scholars say it was around 31 BC, because what you have to understand, after Julius Caesar died, there was a second triumvirate, 3 men that ruled together. The first triumvirate was Pompey, Marcus Crassus, and Julius Caesar. And there was a second triumvirate. That's why there was a gap between Augustus Caesar, Octavia, becoming emperor, and when Julius Caesar died. Because Julius Caesar was assassinated, as you see here, in 44 BC. Augustus, who was the next emperor, didn't take the throne. They say here 27 BC, but I know some scholars say it was around 31 BC, all right? So, but he didn't take the throne until around this time. So in between 44 BC and 27 BC, they had a thing called the second triumvirate. I don't know if it's got it here. They may show you here. I know it was Mark Antony. It was Octavia Augustus. And I think the other guy was called Let's see if they've got it here. I know his name begins with L. That's what plugged the gap. So let's see if it's got it here. Here you go. The second triumvirate was a political alliance formed after the Roman dictator Julius Caesar's assassination, comprising of Caesar's adopted son, Octavia, which is Augustus Caesar, and the dictator's 2 most important supporters, Mark Antony, as it is, Marcus Aemilius Lepidus. So that took the vacuum of the space between Caesar's death, 44 BC, and before Octavia became the second emperor around 27, 28 BC. So there was a gap of around 15 years, say, before Octavia actually became the second emperor. But this is what they formed. After the first triumvirate, they formed the second triumvirate that included Octavia, Marcus Antony, and Marcus Aemilius Lepidus. All right, I just wanted you to see that, to understand that, why there was a break in between him becoming the emperor. So when it says here, when it says, and there shall none after thee attain unto thy time, neither unto half thereof, because Augustus ruled for roughly 45 years. Now the second longest ruler was Tiberius, which ruled for roughly about around 22 years. So that was roughly just under half the time of Augustus. Tiberius's rulership was about 23 years, was just under half the time, or exactly half the time, of Augustus's rule. So when the angel told Esdras here, there shall none after thee, after Octavius Augustus, attain unto thy time. No emperor, none of those 12 Caesars ruled for the length of time that Octavius Augustus, which was Julius Caesar's adopted son, ruled for. None. So as you can see, what the angel was telling Esdras in this dream, in this prophecy, 400 years before Augustus was born, before Tiberius, Julius Caesar was born, he's telling him that no other Roman emperor is going to attain to the same time that the second emperor, which was Augustus, ruled, neither half that time. And like I said, the closest one to it was who? Was Tiberius, 22 years. So it was just under half. I tell you, boy, when the Lord turns his angels to give prophecies, boy, they just span out absolutely beautifully. And remember, Augustus Caesar is spoken of in the book of Luke. All right, people say, oh, they talk about the Bible not being, when it says this is the Caesar here. Luke chapter 2 and 1. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus, that's Octavius, that's the one that ruled for 45 years, that all the world should be taxed. So he's mentioned once again there in the New Testament. So this is who Esdras is talking about here. The second one that came, the second feather that came to power. So it says here, back to verse 17. It says, there shall none after thee attain unto thy time, which we've showed you. No emperor ruled as long as Octavius Augusta, neither unto half thereof. So the closest one that ruled just under half was Tiberius, who ruled for roughly 22 years. It says, then arose the third and reigned as the others before, and appeared no more also. So who was the third? The third was Caligula. Second was Tiberius, till 37 AD. The third was Caligula. This is the third of the 12 Caesars. This is the third of the 12 feathered wings. It's amazing, boy, when you see that this man here, this is the author, Vitellius, commonly referred to as Vipsanius, was a Roman historian who wrote during the early imperial era of the Roman Empire. But he wrote this book about the 12 Caesars, not knowing that he was writing a book about a prophecy that Esdras spoke of, that was brought to Esdras, that was referred to as the 12 feathered wings. He had no idea that he was writing about a prophecy that Esdras was brought to Esdras by the angel 450 years, 550 years before this man wrote this book, during the times of the Roman emperors after they had died, because he wrote this book in 121, publication date AD 121. So this is roughly 550 years after Esdras received the prophecy from the angel about the 12 Caesars. Beautiful, I tell you. Where was we? Okay, then arose the third and reigned as the others before, and appeared no more also. So went it with all the residue one after the other. So they ruled, they died, they ruled, they died, they ruled, they died. That's what Esdras is telling you here. As that everyone reigned and then appeared no more. Everyone reigned, had their time, and appeared no more. Simple as that. They all had their time. One after the other, and then they appeared no more. So you had Julius Caesar first, then Augustus, Tiberius, then Caligula, Claudius, Nero, Galba, Otho, Vitellius, Vespasian, Titus, Domitian. For some of them were set up, but ruled not. Sorry, no, I missed a verse. Then I beheld, and lo, in process of time, the feathers, which are these 12 kings, that followed stood upon the right side, that they might rule also. And some of them ruled, but within a while they appeared no more. They all had their time, their period of time of rulership, and appeared no more. Okay? And the third one, I don't know if I mentioned this, when it says, then arose the third emperor and reigned as the others before and appeared no more also. The third was who? Tiberius. That was the third emperor. I don't know if I skipped that, if I mentioned that, but the third emperor that ruled was Tiberius. All right, he was the third emperor that ruled. And like I said, sometimes they don't refer to Julius Caesar as the first emperor, but he was, to the Romans, considered their first emperor. But some of these scholars don't refer to Julius Caesar as the first emperor. They like to refer to Octavius Augustus, Julius Caesar's adopted son, as the first emperor. But the Romans always saw Julius Caesar as their first emperor. That's why all of the emperors after him took his name, Caesar. That some of these scholars don't look at him as being the first. So it says here, for some of them were set up and ruled out and ruled not. And after this, I looked, and behold, the 12 feathers, which are the 12 Caesars, appeared no more, nor the 2 little feathers. The 2 little feathers are part of the 12 feathers, just so you understand. The 12 feathers are talking about the 12 Caesars of Rome that Licinius wrote about. The 2 little feathers are part of those 12 feathers. It says here, and there was no more upon the eagle's body, but 3 heads that rested, and 6 little wings. So the 3 heads that rested is talking about the Flavian dynasty. He's talking about these guys here, Vespasian and his 2 sons. The Flavian dynasty ruled the Roman Empire between 69 AD and 96, encompassing the reigns of Vespasian, the father, from 69 to 79, and his 2 sons, Titus, from 79 to 81 AD, and Domitian, from 81 to 96 AD. Domitian was the last of the 12 feathered wings. He was the last of the 12 feathers. The last of the 12 Caesars was Domitian. These are the sons of Vespasian. So when we go here, when it says here, where was we? Verse 23, and there was no more upon the eagle's body, but 3 heads that rested, and 6 little wings. So the 3 heads that rested is talking about the Flavian dynasty. And remember, Vespasian, Vespasian, everything about Vespasian tells us that he is the reincarnation of Julius Caesar. Vespasian. But that's for another day, all right? But that's who the 3 heads are. It's Vespasian and his 2 sons, Domitian and Titus, the Flavian dynasty. It says, Then saw I also the 2 little feathers divided themselves from the 6, and remained under the head that was upon the right side, for the 4 continued in their place. So the 2 little feathers is Titus and his brother Domitian. All right? Divided themselves from the 6, from the other Roman emperors, and remained under the head that was upon the right side. That head was who? Vespasian. He's the head of the Flavian dynasty, because this was a new dynasty of Roman emperors that came into power. Their father, Vespasian, was the head. He was a Roman emperor who reigned from 69 to 79. The 4th and last emperor who reigned in the year of the 4 emperors, which we're going to go into. He founded the Flavian dynasty. So he was the head of this new Roman dynasty that ruled the empire for 27 years. Just so you understand. So he's the head of this new Roman dynasty. He doesn't come from the dynasty of Claudius or Tiberius or Nero, those people. He's from a complete different line, family line. So Esdras, the angel says, Esdras says here, where was we? Here, verse 24. Nearly lost myself. And then I saw also the 2 little feathers divided themselves from the 6, and remained under the head that was upon the right side, for the 4 continued in their place. Now this 4 is talking about now the year of the 4 emperors. And I beheld, and lo, the feathers that were under the wing thought to set themselves up to have rule. And I beheld, and lo, there was one set up, one set up, but shortly it appeared no more. The second was sooner away than the first, right? And I beheld, and lo, the 2 that remained thought also in themselves to reign. And when they so thought, behold, there awakened one of the heads, which is Vespasian, that were at rest, and namely, it that was in the midst, for that was greater than the 2 other heads. And I saw the 2 other heads were joined with it. And behold, the head was turned with them that were with it, and did eat up the 2 feathers under the wing that would have reigned. So this is talking about how the Flavian dynasty came into power. So basically, when it says there, and I beheld, and lo, there was one set up. The first one that was set up, his name was Galba, but shortly it appeared no more. So you had a year that they called the year of the 4 emperors. You may or may not have heard of this, right? The year of the 4 emperors. So what happened in that year, you had 4 emperors that ruled. One was for about 6 months. His rule started in 68. This is after Nero died. It started around 68. 68? Yeah, 68 BC to 69 BC. All right. His name was Galba. The second that ruled, his name was Otho. He ruled for roughly 3 months, right, during the year of 69 AD. The third was Vitellius. He ruled for about 6 months in the year 69 AD. And then you had Vespasian, who took down Vitellius, and he became the ruler. He was the last of the 4 emperors, right? So from what I can recall, and I might even show you here, Galba was murdered by Otho, the second one. So the year of the 4 emperors is considered an important interval, making a transition from Julio-Claudians, that was a different dynasty, from the Julian-Claudian dynasty, comprised of the first 5 Roman emperors, Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, and Nero, the first imperial dynasty, to the Flavian dynasty. This was the new head. So the 4, let me see if it tells you here. 68, Okay, so it says here, Galba, here we go. Finally, on June 9th, June 68, Nero committed suicide after being declared a public enemy by the Senate, which made Galba the new emperor. So he became the first of the four emperors, because there was four emperors in 69 AD. That's why it's called the year of the four emperors. However, Galba was unable to establish his authority over the empire, as several of his supporters were disappointed by his lack of gratitude. He especially adopted Pius Licinius as heir. Galba was childless and elderly, instead of Otho, who, it had widely been assumed, would be chosen. Angered by this disgrace, because Otho thought he was going to automatically take over after Galba died, so angered by his disgrace, Otho murdered Galba on the 15th of January with the help of the Praetorian Guard, and became emperor. So Otho became the second of the four emperors in the year of the four emperors. Unlike Galba, he rapidly earned considerable popularity, notably by bestowing favors and emulated Nero's successful early years. Otho still had to face another claimant, Vitellius, who became the third emperor in the year of the four emperors, 69 AD. Vitellius, who had been acclaimed by the legions of the Rhine on the 1st of January 69. Vitellius won the first battle of the Bedricon on April the 14th. Otho committed suicide the next day, and Vitellius was appointed emperor by the Senate on the 19th of April. So Vitellius became the third emperor in the year 69 AD. The new emperor had little support outside of his veterans, the legions of the Dunbar, as well as his former supporters of Galba and Otho. So let's go to the death of him. Here it is. The death of Vitellius did not end the civil war. So where did he die? Okay. It says here, we're here. Vespasian sent his friend Magnus with a part of his army to fight Vitellius, right? To fight Vitellius. But the Dunbar legions, commanded by Antonius Primus, had not waited for the Mancunians and defeated Vitellius' legions at the second battle of the Bedricon on October the 24th. Vitellius was subsequently killed by a mob on the 20th of December. Magnus arrived several days after and swiftly secured Vespasian's position in Rome. And that's when the new Flavian dynasty became the new Roman emperors. All right? So that's the year of the four emperors. So let's go back to 2nd Esdras. So when it says here, and I beheld, and lo, there was one set up, that was Galba, but shortly he appeared no more. And the second was sooner away than the first. All right? Otho only lasted 3 months. He was sooner away than the first, because Vitellius was in power for about 9 months. Not Vitellius, Galba was the emperor for about 9 months. But Otho was only the emperor for about 3 months. So when it says, and the second was sooner away than the first, that's Otho, right? And I beheld, and lo, the two that remained, Vitellius and Vespasian, thought also in themselves to reign, right? Which we just read. And when they so thought, behold, they awakened one of the heads that was at rest. Who did they awaken? Vespasian, right? Because it was his men that wanted Vespasian to be the emperor. Namely, it was in the midst, for that was greater than the two other heads, all right? And this is when we say to you that we believe that Vespasian is the reincarnation of Julius Caesar, right? And then I saw that the two other heads were joined with it. And behold, the head was turned with them that were with it, and did eat up the two feathers under the wings that would have reigned. Where am I? Sorry. So, who are the two heads? Those are Vespasian's two sons, Titus and Domitian. They joined up with their father. They were backing their father. They were generals under their father. So they were backing their father. Those are who are the two heads are. And behold, the head was turned with them that were with it, and they did eat up the two feathers under the wings that would have reigned. All right? Because, like I said, the two feathers is referring to Otho and Vitellius, right? They both, Otho committed suicide, Vitellius was killed by a mob. But this head put the whole earth in fear. Who is this head? The head of the new dynasty. This head is the Flavian dynasty. The head is talking about is Vespasian. This is the new dynasty that's taken over as the new emperors in Rome. This is what this is speaking of. All right. So when it says here, the fourth and last emperor who reigned the year of the four emperors, that's Vespasian. He founded the Flavian dynasty that ruled the empire for 27 years. This is the new head. And behold, the head was, but this head put the whole earth in fear and bare rule in it over all those that dwelt upon the earth with much oppression, and it had the governance of the world more than all the wings that had been. So remember, what did the Lord say? What happened to the Israelites under the Flavian dynasty? 70 AD happened. The destruction of the temple, the destruction of Jerusalem. This is what caused us to flee to the west coast of Africa. They said 1.5 million Israelites fled to the west coast of Africa, north and south on the west coast. Some Israelites fled up into the Mediterranean part of Europe. It's because this family now had taken control. The Flavian dynasty, right, had taken control. So Yahushua spoke about this in Matthew's. Let me just bring it up here. Matthew's 24. Yahushua spoke about these times that was going to happen to us, right? When he says here, perilous times. All right? So these perilous times that we're going to quickly read out is talking about when these guys became in power. But this head put the whole earth in fear. That's Vespasian. That's the Flavian dynasty. And bare rule in it over all those that dwelt upon the earth, the known world, with much oppression. And it had the governance of the world more than all the wings that had been. So Yahushua spoke about this oppression that was going to come upon the children of Israel. Matthew 24:15. When you therefore shall see the abomination of the desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him read. Then let them which be in Judea flee to the mountains. So Daniel spoke about these times as well, that Esdras prophesied about. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, and pray that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. Because this oppression began, I spoke about this yesterday with the zealots, the wicked Israelites, and the Sicarii that was fighting against the Romans in Jerusalem, that invited the Idumeans, which were the Edomites, into Jerusalem to fight against the Romans. They was doing like you could call them like modern day insurgents. You know, they was causing a rebellion. That was the beginning of the destruction of Jerusalem. But also we were being oppressed by these Romans. But the Israelites in power wanted to continue negotiating with the Romans, while the Zealots and the Sicarii, alongside the Idumeans, which are the Edomites, they came against the Romans with violence. And that was the beginning of the downfall of Rome, of Jerusalem. That goes back to the Jewish-Roman War, 66 AD. And that led to the destruction of the temple in 70 AD, and to the final destruction of Masada, the final stronghold in 73 AD. So I just wanted to show you that oppression happened to us. And Yahushua said that we were going to be oppressed hard by them. And after this I beheld, and lo, the head that was in the midst suddenly appeared no more, like as the wings. The head that was in the midst that suddenly appeared no more, that was Vespasian, the father, because he died, right? Vespasian, the Flavian dynasty, he died. He ruled till 79. There you go, 79 AD. And then his first son that took over was Titus. And then after Titus died, Domitian took over. So we're going to show you here. It says, and after this I beheld, and lo, the head that was in the midst suddenly appeared no more like as the wings. That's the Flavian dynasty. But there remained the two heads, which also in like sort ruled upon the earth and over those that dwelt therein. Which were the two heads that remained? Was Vespasian's two sons, Titus and Domitian. The Flavian dynasty ruled Roman Empire between 69 and 96, encompassing the reigns of Vespasian and his two sons, Titus and Domitian. So when it says here, but there remained two heads, those were Vespasian's two sons, which also in like sort ruled upon the earth and over those that dwelt therein. And I beheld, and lo, the head upon the right side devoured it that was on the left side, because one son killed the other. The reason why Titus's rule was only 2 years is because his younger brother, Domitian, the story goes that he poisoned him, basically. Because he wanted to be the emperor. He couldn't wait. So the story goes was that Domitian poisoned his younger brother, Titus. I don't know if let me just see if it tells me here. Hold on. If it tells you how he died. Let me just see. Because they were responsible for besieging Jerusalem in 70 AD. The siege of Jerusalem was a decisive event in the first Jewish-Roman wars, in which the Roman army led by the future emperor, Titus, besieged Jerusalem, the center of the Israelite rebel resistance in the Roman province of Judea, following a brutal 5-month siege. All right? That's what that time that Yahushua spoke about, the abomination and desolation of the temple. So let me see if it quickly shows me early life, born, younger one, the younger sister. Let me just see. Year of the 4 emperors, siege of Jerusalem. What's the purpose of keeping this? Let me see if it tells me here. Death. Baths. He was set at splinters but felt ill. So this one says he died of a fever. It says at the closing of the games, Titus officially dedicated the amphitheater and the baths in what was his final recorded act as emperor. He set out for the Sabine territories but fell ill at the first posting station, where he died of a fever, reportedly in the same farmhouse as his father. Allegedly, the last words he uttered before passing away were, "I have made but one mistake." The Titus ruled for just over 2 years from the death of his father, that he was succeeded by Domitian, who first acted as emperor was to defy his brother. Because I know they were saying that historians, here we go, historians have speculated on the exact nature of his death, to which mistake Titus allured in his final words. Philostratus wrote that he was poisoned, there you go, by Domitian with a C here, and that his death had been foretold to him by Apollonius Tania. So that's one of the things. They said that his brother poisoned him, killed him. So when Esdras says here in the prophecy, when he says, and I beheld, and lo, the head upon the right side devoured it that was upon the left side. The head on the right side would have been Domitian, devoured it on the left side, which was his brother Titus. Then I heard a voice which said unto me, look before thee and consider the thing that thou seest. And I beheld, and lo, it was a roaring lion chased out of the wood. That roaring lion is speaking about Yahushua. And I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle and said, because remember, when Yahushua was on the scene, he was telling the Romans about the downfall, how they're going to be judged. Remember, he spoke, Yahushua was speaking against the Roman Empire and the oppression, what they was doing against the children of Israel. He spoke just like how he spoke up against the wicked Israelites. So that lion is talking about Yahushua. Remember, what is Yahushua symbolic for? The lion of the tribe of Judah. The lion of the tribe of Judah. If I can find it. Tribe of Judah. Something like that. That's a revelation, isn't it? That's a revelation. Hold on. I think it's Revelation. Oh, no. I'm thinking too much. Okay. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down. He couches as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? And there's another reference to Yahushua. Hold on. I know it's in Revelations, I believe. Here it is. Right. Revelations 5:5. And one of the elders says unto me, weep not. Behold, the lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. So who is the lion of the tribe of Judah that's prevailed to open the books? Who's the root of David? That's Yahushua. So when it says here, where was we? Keep losing myself. Here, verse 37. And I beheld, and lo, as it were a roaring lion chased out of the wood. That's Yahushua. And I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle. The eagle is the Roman Empire. And said, hear thou, I will talk with thee, and the highest shall say unto thee, art not thou it that remainest of the 4 beasts, who are made to reign in the world, that the end of their times might come through them? So who is the 4th beast? Right? We was reading about that earlier, right? The 4th beast is who? Daniel 7:7, right? It says, art thou? And after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, strong exceedingly, and it had a great iron teeth. It devoured the breaking pieces, stamped the residue with them, and the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So the 4th beast is the Roman Empire. This is what the angel is telling Esdras here. Art not thou it that remains of the 4 beasts, the Roman Empire, whom are made to reign in the world, that the end of their times might come through them? Because the end of Esau's empire is going to come through Esau. Because remember, today is the reincarnation of the Roman Empire. What these Edomites have established today is the deadly wound on the beast as healed. What beast? That's the 4th beast in the book of Daniel. It's the Roman Empire. We're living under the same Senate, 2-party system, plebeian and patrician. Goes back to the Romans, Republicans, Democrat, Conservatives, Labour, left, right, same system. So the end of the Roman Empire back then is going to come again in these last days, because we're living under that same system again today. For the earth hast thou not judged with truth. No different today. But this is what Yahushua is speaking about the Roman Empire back then. This was the message he had for the Roman Empire back then. This is why it said, this is what the lion, when it says, and I beheld, and lo, as it were a roaring lion chased out of the wood. This is what that lion was saying about the Roman Empire back then when he was walking the earth. That lion is Yahushua. For thou hast afflicted the meek. Who are the meek? The children of Israel. Thou hast hurt the peaceable. Thou hast loved liars, and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit. They destroyed Jerusalem, the temple. We had to flee Jerusalem. And has cast down the walls of such as did no harm. The Yahushua told them that the walls were going to rip him apart after he died. He said that to the Israelites. He prophesied about it. Esdras is telling you what Yahushua was going to be saying to them. Same thing again. Yahushua was telling them, these are all of the things that Yahushua was saying to the Roman Empire and to the Israelites when he was walking the earth. Therefore is thy wrongful dealings come up unto the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty. Gone up to the Most High. Yahushua is right now sitting on the right-hand side of the Most High. But all of the crimes that the Romans did have gone up to the Most High. The highest also has looked upon the proud times of the Roman Empire back then. They ruled with so much oppression and hardship. This is why we know these are the same people here today. The Romans are Edomites, just like the Idumeans that fought against them alongside the Zealots. The Romans are Idumeans, they're Edomites. The so-called white man today are Edomites. But this is specifically talking about the Roman Empire back during the times of Yahushua and after Yahushua died. The highest has looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled. And therefore appear no more, thou eagle. Because after Domitian died, this is when the power, after the Flavian dynasty and after Domitian died, the next emperor was Nerva. The Roman emperors after that were people of color. And this is when the power of the Roman Empire was no longer in the west amongst its Edomites, it was in the east, which was known as the Byzantine Empire. And then, as we know, we come to the stage where we have the 1,000 years of peace around that period of time, the book of Revelations, where the Lord says that it's Revelations, that's why it says thou is not going to be there no more. It goes back to, what was it to? When he bound the serpent 1,000 years, goes back to Revelation chapter 20. When it says there, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. This is when the Roman Empire was bound just over 1,000 years. And he laid hold on the dragon, which is the Roman Empire, that old serpent, which is the devil, the deceiver, and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him. That's when the western part of the Roman Empire just totally disappeared in terms of power. They had no more power. The wickedness that they was perpetrating was no more there because they lost all that power. The Germanic tribes played a part in taking down the power structure of the Roman Empire on the western part. The power structure now became the eastern part of the Roman Empire, known as the Byzantine Empire. But they were ruled by Jakes, people of color. They weren't committing the wickedness that the western side was doing, that was ruled by Edomites, which was ruled by the 12 Caesars, the 12 feathered wings. So they cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more. Till what? Till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. When was 1,000 years fulfilled? When this man came out of the Caucasus Mountains, came back into Europe. This is when the deadly wound was healed on the fourth beast. And after that, he must be loosed in a little season. We are living in that little season right now, coming to the end of this Edomites rulership. So when he was shut up, when he shut him up and sealed him up till the 1,000 years should be complete, this is the same thing he's talking about here. The highest has looked upon the proud times of the Roman Empire, and behold, they are ended. The last emperor, Edomite emperor, was Domitian of the Flavian dynasty, and his abominations are fulfilled, and therefore appear no more. He was shut up 1,000 years. Thou eagle, nor thy horrible wings, those emperors, those 12 Caesars, nor thy wicked feathers, the 12 feathered wings of the 12 Caesars, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body, that all the earth may be refreshed and may return. So we're eventually going to come to this time when the earth is going to be refreshed and return. That's when the kingdom is going to be set up. Being delivered from thy violence, that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her. That's why these Edomites don't want to believe that they're Edomites, because they're sitting there in hope for judgment and the mercy for him that made her. They're going to have to face their judgment. This is referring directly to the Roman Empire during the time of the 12 Caesars, when it came to an end under Domitian. It was shut up 1,000 years. It came back again around 13 AD. The beast, these Edomites, came from the Caucasus Mountains, Eastern Europe, into Western Europe, and started to take down the royal families of Europe, which were made up of people of color, mainly Israelites. So they're coming to their end. I don't really want to take this on too much longer, so I'm not going to try to go through chapter 12 today. We'll do that another day. But chapter 12 basically is talking about what's happening in chapter 11, basically. The angel's just going through everything that's in it. So we've just gone over the hour mark. 2nd Esdras chapter 11, I might have to rename it 2nd Esdras chapter 11, breakdown of the 12 feathered wings. That's the full breakdown of 2nd Esdras chapter 11, the 12 feathered wings. I pray you were edified by today's edification. If you've got any questions or anything on what we've spoken on today, please leave your comments in the comment board and I'll get back to you. But as always, I want to give all the praises and the glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who are leading this word in truth and spirit and sincerity. As I say, as always, I pray you are edified by today's edification. Until we meet again, brothers and sisters, as I always say, keep praying, keep safe, and hold on to this truth, because this Bible is speaking out loud. And for those of you that's never heard the breakdown of 2nd Esdras chapter 11, that was it in a nutshell. In praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom family. All praises.